Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Well, guys, we are into unprecedented territory now. So the White House says President Trump's going to sign the spending bill to avoid a shutdown, but he's going to declare a border emergency too. He's both. As Pelosi warns GOP that a future Democratic president could use the same tactic to impose gun control. And so, what do you guys think of that? Let's hear your your thoughts, your concerns, your criticisms, your complaints. Let's hear what you're thinking about this. So, going through this, President's approval is required to avoid another government shutdown. Trump said he was not happy with the compromise, but the White House signals he will accept it. White House said Trump will sign the government funding bill, but at the same time, he will declare a national emergency to build a wall. Pelosi did not rule out legal action to block the move. She warned Republicans of the precedent it could set for the future. Republican James C. Clyburn of South Carolina says he's sure it will pass. The deal must be signed into law by midnight Friday to avoid another shutdown. The Senate adopted the measure by a vote of 83 to 16. The House was set to vote Thursday evening on $328 billion package. And so this is huge. This is definitely huge. This is definitely going into unprecedented territory, and it feels like that has been what the puppet masters have wanted the whole time. This is going to be the presidency that basically breaks down walls in many ways and sets new precedences, and perhaps, I keep getting drawn back. There was those people that said Obama would be the last president, and then there were some, that have thought the same thing about Trump. And when you look at history and look at what's happened in history, and you wonder about seizing power and basically end arounding the current system of government. And as Pelosi basically called this an end run around the will of the people, speaking to reporters minutes after the news of Trump's position broke. And you know what? I mean, the fact is that very few people like Congress. Very few people have a positive view of Congress at all. And then, of course, the president's running he's been running about roughly 45 to 50% loving him, 45 to 50% hating him, and very little in the middle. So I think most people are very, very cautious and suspicious about all of this. Although you do have your diehards, that think that building the wall is going to solve all the problems in the world. It almost seems like that. And this is really all about, it appears to be all about saving face in many senses. But something tells me this is part of a bigger plan, and that's why I've had such I don't want to say a bad feeling, but kind of an ominous feeling about this whole thing. As well, as we talked about in several other videos, walls can hold people in as well as keep people out. And so this brings up it brings us into a whole new era. And, as we look at people weighing in on what does this really mean. So this is CNN. Here's what a national emergency could look like. And President Donald Trump intends to declare a national emergency, a move that could allow the administration to circumvent Congress, unlock money to build his signature border wall. He's been teasing about the possibility for weeks, considering it as a way to pay for his border wall. The spending deal reached by lawmakers this week fell well short of the $5.7 billion he had requested. A national emergency could help make up the difference, though it largely depends on which statutes he invokes. A national emergency allows him to unlock certain funds provided under statutes previously passed by Congress. A draft proclamation reviewed by CNN last month cited Title 10 of the U.S. Code, which paves the way for Trump to dip into a stash of Pentagon funds that are earmarked but have no signed contracts for spending that money. That would give him authority to pull from military construction funds and civil works projects like infrastructure repair projects. For him to invoke Section 2808 specifically, the emergency would require the use of the armed forces. Well, we had an awful lot of reports of the armed forces doing all sorts of drills the last week, all over the place. Remember LA with the helicopters wasn't just there. It was many, many different locations going on. And, I'm just suspicious about everybody in Washington. I don't trust Pelosi or McConnell or any of them, and I don't trust, the president as well. But then again, I didn't trust Obama or the Bushes or the Clintons either. So in that event, the Secretary of Defense, without regard to any other provision of law, may undertake military construction projects and may authorize the secretaries of the military departments to undertake military construction projects not otherwise authorized by law that are not necessary to support such use of the armed forces. According to options that have been considered, the administration could pull $681 million from the Treasury forfeiture funds, $3.6 billion in military construction, $3 billion in Pentagon Civil Works funds, and $200 million in the Department of Homeland Security funds. An official told CNN late last month. They could also include up to $2 billion in counter-narcotics funds. Even so, proclamation wouldn't likely make the path forward any easier. House Democrats, for one, are expected to pursue legal challenges in the event of a national emergency proclamation. In a press conference Thursday, Speaker Nancy Pelosi denounced the notion that the situation along the border is an emergency, adding that the Democrats are reviewing their options. So it's interesting to see all this going on, and how different is it going to be from martial law being declared? How different is it going to be from, all these different circumstances that this leads us to think about? As many of us out there in the truther community, I'll use that word instead of the C word. Hey, we just don't trust, period, and it's with good reason, because we've seen, false promises constantly and just out and out lies when you get down to it. So this is going to be very interesting to watch. For one, we know everything's wiretapped. We know every conversation is tracked now. We've just got used to this in the world. We've gotten used to losing all of our civil liberties. And, it just feels like we're heading down a path that's going to lead to a place where we kind of get used to being in almost, like a martial law situation on a daily basis. And it certainly feels to many that that's kind of where we're heading down this slippery slope. And, it's just very, very concerning. So, national emergencies and the Constitution, the tension created by the constitutional separation of powers among the President, Congress, and the courts during times of a national emergency is not new. President Lincoln famously suspended habeas corpus during the American Civil War. Later, President Roosevelt authorized detention and internment of 100,000 Japanese Americans, which history forgets about a lot. A profound constitutional offense that ranks among our country's most severe violations of our founding commitments. And President Truman sought to use emergency powers to nationalize a steel mill to supply the armed forces during their quote-unquote police action in Korea. And so, look at the terms, police action in Korea, right? This is the things that have happened in this world. We don't, as Nancy Pelosi said, Congress has the power of the purse, and she also said today that Congress is one that declares war. But how many times have we declared war recently with Congress, and yet we're in so many different countries, and we go in all the time without declaring war now. So this separation of power doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't exist. We see that. And really, the whole Constitution is completely breaking down when you look at it. It's been chipped away at. There are all these different presidential decrees that we've talked about before, which could actually make it so that in an emergency, they could seize anybody's land in the country. And they can not only seize the land, but they could actually put you to work on projects, and most people aren't aware of this. And this has actually been put into law with all these new presidential decrees that have been put through time and time again. They could seize your property and put you to work. That basically, isn't that slavery? Well, it's actually legal now. It's been made legal. So everything that the country was kind of founded on has been just basically whittled away so that it's all gone. You might as well face it. It's all gone. And this is just one more step towards, complete loss of civil liberties. And really, over the wall, is that really something that's so critical? I think, there's more concerning things going on right now, and in my humble opinion. And there's people losing their lives constantly in these earth changes, of which, a lot of them, people are wondering how much is actually really completely natural. And, it's just another thing that is hitting us. And so, what really are we living in? Are we truly living in a free society? And when we hear the politicians speak and they're doing it all for our benefit, how many of you really believe that? And so maybe this does not turn out to be, quote unquote, the big thing. Maybe this is just basically paving the way for what Nancy Pelosi was talking about. And she just said, not only about filing a challenge, but she was talking about, with next Democratic president might declare a gun violence, a national emergency, and maybe they'll do away with the Second Amendment totally. So, perhaps, and this is what happens, these things get whittled away a little bit at a time, constantly getting chipped away, until, nobody has to come to a consensus about anything. And the next thing you know, we've lost all of our rights. And that's where we're really heading. It's basically, we're down that slippery slope. And is there any way we could possibly stop that, reverse the slide? And there's a lot going on with this, and there's a lot more than meets the eye. But we'll see it. We'll see it all play out. We'll see the bigger picture. And I look forward to your guys' comments on this. I really, really do. Share what you're thinking, and let us know, what do you think takes precedent? And are you nervous that this is basically even putting us down a more slippery slope than we've been on? And whether you're pro-wall or against the wall, it's really about changing things. And how much power do we really want them to wield, no matter if it's Clinton in the White House, a Bush, an Obama, or a Trump? Because there's a couple things that have been consistent in every single successive administration. You see an increase in military spending, and you see a whittling away of constitutional rights. And that's the consistent thing we have seen, over the last decades, really. So as my friends, as always, like, share, subscribe, click the bell, get all notifications. Let me know what you're thinking. Share. God bless. Namaste.